West, and they lost in the first round of the Memphis Grizzlies. So, gotcha. Okay, got the stream back on track. All right. So what were we talking about? The Blazers. So yeah, like you can see, they just haven't really been able to get over the hump and make it to the not even make it to the finals. And Damian Lillard has been absolutely phenomenal in the past few years. He is really coming to his own um, as a superstar. I mean, last year, 28 points a game. The year before that, 30 points a game. Um, and he's been all stars these years, most years. So, what's not working? What is going wrong here? And so, we're going to take a little bit of look into that and look into the trade speculations that happened. There was a report that came out. Apparently, uh, Damian Lillard um, talked to LeBron and Anthony Davis. They met at LeBron's house over the offseason. Um, and, apparently it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to get him to come. I couldn't find the report. I think it was on Bleacher Report. Let's see. Yeah, Damian Lillard met with the Lakers. Can I? No. Unlock the full power. I cannot unlock the full power. But they met. Damian Lillard met with LeBron AD, and apparently it wasn't enough to get him to leave the Blazers or come to the Lakers. I don't know which one it was. I mean, obviously they want him on the Lakers, but for me, as a fan of Damian Lillard's and a fan of the Blazers, I've lived in Washington for the past 8 years, so I know the Blazers and their fans pretty well. I think it would be best, honestly, if the Blazers find a trade. I wouldn't say you need to rush it, because you want to obviously maximize what you get from him, because you're not going to get back a Damian Lillard. If you're a Blazers fan, you're expecting to get back Damian Lillard. You're not. But I mean, it hasn't worked. It hasn't worked. And at this point, do you want, as a Blazers fan, do you want to just stay middle of the pack? Get out first, maybe second round. And this season, I mean, it's looking even worse. I mean, they're having trouble against, not amazing teams. Let's see where their losses have come from. The Kings. I mean, they started off losing to the Kings. They lost to the Clippers without Kawhi. Lost to the Hornets. Hornets are pretty good. LaMelo Ball is balling out. And they've lost to the Sixers without Joel Embiid, and they lost to the Cavs. So I just I don't see the path, the clear path for the Blazers with Lillard to get to the playoffs. I've heard a lot of speculation about what if you trade CJ McCollum. And CJ McCollum is basically the Robin to Lillard's Batman. But they haven't been able to get it done. I mean, McCollum has been there. Let's see. Let's check out CJ McCollum's stats. But McCollum has been there for, I would say, almost as long as Dame for a lot of these good years. I mean, obviously he hasn't been around. He got drafted in 2013, so that was after Damian Lillard. But he's been on the Blazers for all these years. I mean, since 2014. After his sophomore year, he really, he's averaging 20 to 23 points. 3-point percentage has increased. Field goal percentage, would like to get that up to 500. But still, not bad. Hasn't made the playoffs. Hasn't really been like he's in a good score, but I wouldn't say necessarily um like he's not a good enough player to be the second best player on a championship winning team. Um and people would point to, they'll be like, "Hey, well, what about the Bucks who won with Chris Middleton as their second best player?" But I would say the dynamic's a little bit different. One, CJ McCollum and Lillard play basically the same position. Yeah, Lillard is more of your traditional point guard, but he's not. I mean, he doesn't. Lillard's not averaging a ton of assists. I guess, I mean, past few years, 8, 7, 8.5. Okay, so I stand correct. He's a passer. He can pass, um, but they both seem to need the ball in their hand to be the best version of themselves. Where I think Chris Middleton and Giannis on the Bucks don't. I mean, Giannis can have the ball and kick it out to Middleton, who's a sniper from three, as well as the opposite is, Giannis and Chris Middleton can do the pick and roll because Giannis is he's 6'11" or almost 7 foot. So that just seems to work a lot better. And there's then the defense. I mean, Lillard and CJ McCollum are not good defensively. The Blazers are not good defensively. I mean, we could take a look at their stats. Let's see. Team stats. We'll just go. Oh, team starts. Well, let's look. I mean, let's look at. We need to type in NBA. Let's look at the Blazers. Let's go to defense. And I think that has been the Trailblazers, the chink in the armor is that they cannot defend. I mean, they're 20th in defensive rating. Rebounds are good. Steals, middle of the pack. Blocks, middle of the pack. Points off turnovers, not bad. Good. They looks like they're rebounding well. So, I mean, they're not awful on defense this season. The problem this season is Damian Lillard does not have any good start. Very uncharacteristic. He's down from 28 points per game last year to 19 points a game this year. And his 3-point percentage is down to 23% from 3 on almost 10 shots, 3-point shots a game. I mean, that's bad. That's bad. That's getting close to Russell Westbrook numbers right there. Westbrook. I mean, I'm a Lakers fan, but I can be objective about that. And 35% from the floor. That's obviously not going to be sustained. But it goes back to the point of all this trade speculation. Mostly speculation, probably from other teams, from the media. Lillard has been very adamant about his position on trades. He wants, he's following the steps of Allen Iverson, Giannis, players like that who get drafted by a team, stay with the team, try to win a championship with that team that they get drafted by. But it's just not working. And I just wonder if these numbers are indicative of him being in the back of his mind saying I could be in Philadelphia right now. I could be on the Lakers right now. I could be, any one of these number of teams who are in championship contention. Philadelphia's had their own troubles, but I would say that mostly stems around Ben Simmons, and so a trade for Lillard for Ben Simmons, would change a whole lot. I mean, Damian Lillard with Joel Embiid might become the best duo in basketball right now and in this year. I mean, that would be just that pick and roll would be the deadliest pick and roll game. Um, maybe besides Anthony Davis and LeBron, but I just think that like Damian Lillard and I don't think personally, I know there's this debate in the media and talk shows and stuff, but there is some loyalty and honor with players who stay with the same team they get drafted by. Don't try to go in free agency, don't leave and form super teams, but if the goal is to win as a player, if the goal of basketball is to win games and get championships and get rings, then doesn't moving teams get you closer to that if you're going to a better team? And the Blazers have done nothing for Dame. I mean, yes, they're very loyal to Damian Lillard. They're not going to trade him. Like, they've been very adamant about that. They're not going to trade him unless he like forces his way out of Portland. But I mean, the Blazers have done nothing for him. They haven't made any big moves, especially this offseason, even with all this trade speculation or all these rumors with Damian Lillard. They haven't been like, oh, well, we should probably figure this out and get Damian Lillard the help he needs. No, they're just like, let's re-sign Norman Powell and re-sign Robert Covington and get Larry Nance Jr. Shout out to Larry Nance Jr., drafted by the Lakers. Love that guy. High flyer. But still, I mean, are those guys winning the Blazers a championship? No. And McCollum, unless McCollum breaks out this season and just goes for like 28 points a game, lockdown defense. Problem is those guards, who are Damian when the playoffs come around? Who is Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum? Who are they going to be able to guard? I mean, you look at the other teams in the West. Are they going to be able to guard Luka Doncic on the Mavs? Are they going to be able to guard Donovan Mitchell on Utah? Are they going to be able to guard the Lakers like LeBron and Russ? I guess, I don't know. Russ can guard himself with all those turnovers, but still, I mean, who are they going to guard? And I just think like you're better off trying to chase like a power forward who can just ball out, and then you have Lillard and you have a center or a power forward, and you put them in the pick and roll. But if you're not going to do that, like, you're not doing Lillard any favors here, Portland, if you're not going to go after good players. Because McCollum and Damian Lillard, it just isn't going to work anymore. We've seen it happen for how many years now, since 2015-2016 season. And the farthest they've gotten to the Western Conference Finals, but they got swept by the Warriors. And since then, it's only been downhill. And this season is even worse. So, I mean, my feeling would be to the GM, Portland's GM, who's the Trailblazers. Let's look up Blazers GM. Who is he? Neil Olshey. Oh, and this is the first story that pops up in newsfeed. Could Neil Olshey be fired? So, I think it sounds like he's in the hot seat. Let's see what it says. It might be the least successful press conference in NBA history. Sources say Olshey's job was beyond secure before that day. He's been running the Blazers longer than his boss, Jody Allen. And this is from the Blazers, like, fan-made, like, community news, like, news website. And I just think, they're not doing anything with McCollum. I mean, you could try to trade McCollum for some pieces. I don't think you'll get a lot back. You're not going to get, like, a step up. Definitely, you're not going to get a step up from McCollum. Maybe the chemistry will work better for McCollum if you trade, McCollum for a power forward, small forward, or center. But I'm trying to think of someone that would be possible with. Like, what team would want to trade for McCollum and give up, a decent forward or center? And I just I don't see that happening. So if I was Lillard, I'd be like, guys, thanks a lot. It's been some great years. We had some great runs, but it's time for me to not fall into the category of Charles Barkley, who gets roasted by Shaq every night on NBA inside the NBA. Lillard, you don't want that to be the rest of your life, because you're too good. He's too good of a player. He is a special talent. He, like, stat head right here says Damian Lillard is Trailblazers all-time leader in 50-point games. Like that, he is just a scorer. He's one of those players like Allen Iverson, who is just so dominant, and he can score from anywhere, and has that mentality, that he is better than everyone else on the floor. And again, I love Lillard, but that also goes to the point to beg the question of, like, can Lillard be the number one option on a championship team? Is Lillard as good as Giannis? I think most people would agree that Damian Lillard is not as good as Giannis. Giannis is a freak of nature. He's a Greek freak. He's 6'11", but plays like a point guard, has the handles, has the passing skills, starting to develop this mid-range and three-point game, is truly LeBron, but with even more freakish physical attributes. And he was one of few players who was drafted by a team and got them into playoff contention and ultimately won a championship. But I just don't think Lillard can do that. And, like a lot of other talk shows have said, is not a lot of point guards can lead a team to a championship. It's hard. It's hard when you're, it's funny to say, when you're only 6'3" or whatever Damian Lillard is, or whatever, 6'2". It's hard when you don't have that length, you don't have that extra height in your shot, you don't have that extra vision to look over players like LeBron or Giannis can. You'll always have like a higher hand in your face when you're taking that shot. And defensively, it's just hard to guard people when you're only 6'2". I'm sure a lot of teams offensively are like, let's get Damian Lillard in the pick and roll and let's make him switch onto our forward or our center. So if I'm being honest, I think Lillard he doesn't even need to be the Robin to someone's Batman. He just needs to be the 1B to someone's 1A. And I know everyone, probably besides Trailblazers fans and the Trailblazers front office, is hoping that Lillard will request a trade to go to the Philadelphia 76ers, but because that would be the ultimate 1A, 1B, classic center, point guard, pick and roll action. And the Philly fans would just love Lillard. You heard, I think, if you heard this, when the Blazers played the 76ers, I think this week or last week, the Philly fans were chanting, "We want Dame." And Philadelphia fans would love Lillard. He is Dame time. He's the guy who makes that last second shot at the end of the game. And from the rough ride that the Phillies fans have had with Ben Simmons, if Lillard would be like the ultimate breath of fresh air. Um, yeah, here it is.
And that's, that comes with professional sports. It's fun and it's a public thing. So, I'm not uptight about it or acting like I don't recognize it. I know what it is and I know what it's about. But I'm a trailblazer. I appreciate the love. I appreciate the respect. That they show and the desire or whatever. But I'm 10 toes in Rip City, and I've said that time and time again. And tonight I laughed about it during starting lineups, but it was that was that. I was here to win a game.
Yeah, let's hear the chant.
Is capable of, just leaves defenders so vulnerable.
We want Lillard.
Chance going up here at the center as the 6-time All-Star Damian Lillard drains the first.
And that goes again. You can see Chauncey Billups in the background. The new head coach. They've had for most of the time that of Lillard's tenure, they had Terry Stotts as the head coach, and they were pretty loyal to him until last year. They parted ways and got Chauncey Billups, who, is a beloved player, and been an assistant coach and all that stuff. So I feel bad for Chauncey, man, being pushed into this situation. And as you can see, Lillard just doesn't want to go anywhere, and that just might be it. Lillard might be dug in, and all this might just be wishful thinking from my part, and other sports pundits making these rumors and all this stuff is, that just might be what it is. That's what, Allen Iverson. That's what. Giannis, there was literally rumors about Giannis last offseason. And then what did they do? They go in and they win a championship. And that just might be what it is. And, I think at some point everyone will accept it. But, Lillard, Lillard's 31. He ain't getting any younger. So we'll see. I think it might just be where Lillard just ends up a Blazer forever. And might be one of the best Blazers ever, and could be, in that discussion of best all-time players who never won a ring. Charles Barkley, Allen Iverson, Karl Malone. And that's just what it is. But I don't think it necessarily hurts his reputation. I think a lot of people see it as honorable. So, but it's just it's tough. I think honestly, if I were the Blazers, that's a good question about the Blazers. What should the Blazers do in this situation? I think the problem with a lot of these small market teams is they don't necessarily want to go all out, like the Lakers do, where they just trade away all their role players for some dying star like Russell Westbrook, which is coming back to hurt the Lakers pretty bad. But I think middle of the road small market teams are just hey, we have a loyal fan base. We have Damian Lillard, who gets all this attention, gives us attention. Why not just stick with that and just keep writing that out and pick up some role players here and there? But then, it goes back to the Bucks. That was what Giannis was doing, and that's what, not Giannis, but that's what the Bucks were doing with Giannis, is they had Chris Middleton, they had Giannis, they weren't doing a whole lot in free agency or tradings, until they were like, hey, what if we go get Drew Holiday and we put together this, pseudo big three? We could make this happen. And they, hats off to them. They went with it. They traded for Drew Holiday, who was on the Pelicans at the time. And guess what? They have a championship. And Giannis has been boosted to superstardom. And the Bucks are on the map again. Even this season, a lot of people are picking them to win the championship. So I just don't see why the Blazers haven't been more aggressive. And I would say that's what they owe Damian Lillard. Because Damian Lillard has done all this stuff for Portland. I mean, he is... The only reason people talk about Portland is to talk about Damian Lillard, honestly. So, why not go after these, give up some draft picks. Anthony Simons and other people they're drafting are good role players, but are they actually going to make a difference on the Trailblazers? Start giving up some draft picks, Maybe even tank a year. Give up some draft picks. Go out and get someone. And it will unfold as the season goes on. You'll start to hear other teams who aren't living up to expectations, and they might start shipping out players like Drew Holiday was shipped out of the Pelicans. And go get someone like that. Give Dame a team he can work with and actually make something happen. So, hopefully something happens with that. But I wouldn't hold your breath on anything major happening on either side, Damian Lillard's side or the Blazers' side. So we might have just more of the same. Insanity. The peak insanity of the Trailblazers is doing the same thing and expecting different results. All right, that'll cap up the first episode of this Sport Ball podcast stream YouTube channel. Yeah, make sure to like and subscribe on all of the platforms. I'm on Twitch, I'm on YouTube, and I'm on Spotify for all you podcast fans out there. You can find the links on YouTube and Twitch. Make sure to catch those games. All right. See you guys.